Most people think they know where their money goes. They know their rent, they know their car payment, they know what they earn every month. And yet somehow, every few weeks, they look at their bank account and wonder the same thing. Where did it all go? The uncomfortable truth is that financial problems rarely come from one giant mistake. They come from hundreds of tiny, invisible decisions. Decisions so small that they don't feel important. A coffee here, a subscription there, a convenience fee, a food delivery, an impulse purchase justified as a reward. None of these feel dangerous, but together they quietly shape an entire financial life. And the most dangerous part? Most people never even notice them. Human beings are terrible at tracking gradual change. If someone suddenly took $5,000 from your account, you'd notice immediately. But if $8 disappears today, $12 tomorrow, $17 next week, and $24 the week after, your brain barely reacts. This isn't because you're careless. It's because your brain evolved to notice immediate threats, not slow leaks. Imagine a bucket filled with water. Most people focus on how much water they're pouring in. Very few people inspect the tiny holes at the bottom. Income is the water. Invisible spending is the leak. And no matter how much water enters the bucket, enough leaks can keep it from ever filling. Habit 1. Convenience spending. Convenience has become one of the most expensive products in modern life. Food delivery, express shipping, ride sharing, premium services, priority access, fast checkout. None of these products are really selling convenience. They're selling the feeling of removing friction. The problem is that friction often protects money. Walking to the store creates friction. Cooking creates friction. Comparing prices creates friction. Waiting creates friction. And friction forces decisions. When friction disappears, spending accelerates. People don't necessarily buy more because they need more. They buy more because buying became easier. Habit 2. Emotional rewards. Many purchases aren't economic decisions. They're emotional decisions. After a stressful day, spending feels like relief. After a hard week, spending feels like celebration. After disappointment, spending feels like comfort. Retail therapy became popular because it works, temporarily. The brain receives a small dopamine reward. For a moment, things feel better. But the financial cost remains long after the emotional benefit disappears. This creates a dangerous cycle. Stress leads to spending. Spending creates financial pressure. Financial pressure creates stress. Stress leads to more spending. The cycle repeats. Habit 3. Subscription blindness. Subscriptions are masters of invisibility. A streaming service, a premium app, a fitness platform, a cloud storage plan, a software tool, a music service. Individually, they appear harmless. Collectively, they become permanent financial residents. The danger isn't necessarily the amount, it's the automatic nature. Money leaves without requiring a fresh decision. Over time, people stop questioning whether they still use the service. The subscription survives simply because canceling requires effort. Businesses understand this psychology extremely well. That's why signing up is usually easier than leaving. Habit 4. Lifestyle creep. Lifestyle creep is one of the most common invisible spending habits. When income rises, spending quietly follows. A better apartment, a nicer car, premium groceries, more expensive vacations, higher-end restaurants. None of these changes feel extreme. That's what makes them dangerous. Most people never wake up and decide to double their expenses. Their expenses simply rise one upgrade at a time. Years later, they discover that despite earning significantly more, they aren't saving much more. The raise disappeared, not all at once, but gradually. Habit 5. The small purchase trap. People often dismiss small purchases because each one seems insignificant. $5 doesn't matter, neither does 10 or 15. The problem is repetition. A single drop of water seems harmless. Thousands create a flood. Financial outcomes are usually determined by recurring behavior, not isolated events. A purchase repeated hundreds of times becomes more important than a purchase made once. The brain naturally focuses on large transactions, but wealth is often built or lost through patterns. Patterns repeated daily, weekly, monthly, year after year. Habit 6. Social spending. Humans are social creatures. That means spending decisions are often influenced by other people. Friends upgrade, coworkers upgrade, neighbors upgrade, social media influencers upgrade, and suddenly, upgrading feels normal. People compare themselves constantly, not to billionaires, but to the people around them. The danger is that comparison creates artificial needs. A perfectly functional phone feels outdated. A reliable car feels embarrassing. A comfortable home feels inadequate. Nothing changed except perception, yet perception drives spending. Habit 7. Paying to avoid discomfort. Many spending habits exist because discomfort feels unpleasant. People pay to avoid waiting, pay to avoid effort, pay to avoid boredom, pay to avoid learning, pay to avoid planning. Modern businesses excel at identifying discomfort and charging for relief. And consumers willingly pay because immediate comfort feels valuable. The issue isn't occasional convenience. The issue is when convenience becomes the default solution to every inconvenience. That's when spending becomes automatic. Visible spending gets attention. Invisible spending gets ignored. And ignored behaviors become habits. Habits become lifestyles. Lifestyles become financial outcomes. This is why two people with identical incomes can end up in completely different situations. One person directs money intentionally. The other allows money to drift. The difference often isn't intelligence, it's awareness. The person who notices small patterns can adjust them. The person who never sees them remains trapped by them. The second-order effects. Most people think invisible spending only costs money, but the real cost is larger. Every dollar spent today loses future possibilities. Money spent cannot be invested, cannot grow, cannot create flexibility, cannot buy time later. Financial freedom isn't just about having money, it's about having options. Every recurring expense quietly competes with future options. That's the hidden trade-off few people see. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this?" ask, "What pattern does this create?" One purchase rarely changes a life. Patterns do. The goal isn't perfection. The goal isn't eliminating every luxury. The goal is awareness. Awareness creates choice. Choice creates control. Control creates progress. And progress creates wealth. The spending habits that hurt people most are rarely dramatic. They're quiet, automatic, routine, invisible. That's why they're so powerful. Most financial struggles don't begin with a major mistake. They begin with tiny behaviors repeated thousands of times. The good news is that the same principle works in reverse. Small improvements repeated consistently can transform an entire financial future. A little more awareness, a little more intention, a little more control. Not because one decision changes everything, but because thousands eventually do.